Let's be clear. When this Secretary of State resumed office, he decided to impose the most punishing climate policies at home because, according to his argument, if we lead, then others will follow. That's why we are now the only country in the world to be shutting down our own domestic energy supply in the North Sea. That's why he's forcing us into ever higher energy bills. He has taken the most hair-shirt, ideological approach to climate policy. Thousands of jobs lost, high bills for decades. So we're not setting an example to the rest of the world. What he has created is a warning. It is now the renewable advocates at home who are raising the alarm about the folly of his plans to shut down the North Sea. They say who? Let me name them for them. Scottish Renewables, Octopus Energy, and they may have heard of this one, the chair of his very own Great British Energy. All of them have said that we have to continue to drill in the North Sea because they know there is no just transition by pulling the plug as thoughtlessly as they are doing. This is student politics, and yet thousands of Britons, they laugh. I might remind them that it was their minister that got booed when we went to Aberdeen because it is thousands of Britons who are paying the price with their jobs. Second, whilst he's been gone, it's become even clearer that it's his plans which are raising energy bills at home. Martin Lewis and all our country's biggest energy suppliers have publicly made clear that it is his costs which are now raising bills. And the truth is this: he promised the public lower bills and more jobs, when in fact his policies are destroying jobs and signing us up to higher bills for decades. That's not what the public were promised. That's why I say the real path to lower emissions is cheaper electricity. If you want people to choose electric cars or electric heating, then you need to make electricity cheap. That's why our cheap power plan would cut the cost of electricity for everyone by 20%. We have some of the cleanest but most expensive electricity in the world. Our plan would address that, and even the chair of the Select Committee has said that it merits consideration. But let me return to COP to see what he did achieve. How many countries joined his new Global Clean Power Alliance? We didn't hear of that in the statement, and that's because it's not a single one. Perhaps the terrible outcomes he's achieving at home have put them off. And worst of all, Madam Deputy Speaker, despite this conference cutting down acres of the Amazon rainforest, he chose not to support this conference's flagship forest fund. Every Conservative government since 2021 supported global funds on deforestation, but he made sure that Britain, for the first time in 4 years, did not contribute. Madam Deputy Speaker, is this not the height of hypocrisy? When people say they support environmental policy, they first and foremost mean protecting the natural world that we all cherish. Doesn't this show up his green ideology for what it is? Bureaucratic, punitive, and ultimately ineffective. His plans are completely counterproductive, so he should answer these fundamental questions. What do his plans mean for electricity bills, when everyone from Martin Lewis to Ofgem has made clear that it's his policies that are raising bills? And what assessment has he made of how damaging it is for those higher electricity bills when it comes to electrification? Because here's the rub. He's making electricity more expensive and expecting people to use it for their heating. As a plan, it is simply absurd. Second, how many more emissions will the UK count for if it is increasing its imports of LNG, gas with 4 times the emissions of the North Sea? He is driving away British jobs to import gas with higher emissions. He should explain to the House what the environmental benefit is of that. Third, how will it help climate change if AI firms which want to use gas power set up shop in some other country rather than Britain? Those data centres will still exist, just not here in Britain, thanks to his policies. Fourth, what does he say to Martin Lewis, who's made very clear that it's not gas that's the problem pushing up bills, it is his plans? And here's the problem. From our electricity price to the North Sea to AI, he is impoverishing Britain for no benefit to global emissions. This is student politics. We've become a warning, not an example to the rest of the world. And here's what he should remember. No country is going to be convinced by a moral lecture from the Secretary of State. What they're persuaded by is prosperity. And it is his hair shirt approach which is the biggest blocker to British prosperity.
Oh dear, oh dear. I mean, I remember a time when the Conservative Party was serious about the COP negotiations, and serious. I mean, she had advanced sight of the statement, but she didn't ask any questions about the statement. Well, I have to say, there is a fundamental issue here, which is, do we engage internationally on how we drive the clean energy transition forward, or do we go to a series of really pretty useless talking points, which is what she chose to do? Now, let me get to her questions, such as they are. She talks about jobs. Let me tell her what some of the things that have happened on jobs in the last couple of weeks. 3,000 new jobs. SMRs in North Wales, the biggest investment in North Wales in a generation. 600, promised multiple times by them, never delivered. 600 jobs in Great Yarmouth, Belfast and the North West, all thanks to our clean power plans. SSE announced thousands more jobs as part of their £33 billion investment in the UK. And all of which, and let's not forget this, all of which would be put at risk by their plan to rip up the Climate Change Act. And don't take it from me, Madam Deputy Speaker, in the words of Rain Newton-Smith, the Director General of the CBI, a backward step in achieving our shared objectives of economic growth, boosting energy security, protecting our environment and making life healthier for future generations, roundly condemned by British business. And of course, the proof of this is what we've seen in the last 15 months, when she talks about the record, more than 50 billion of investment in clean energy in Britain pledged because of our plans. She talks about bills. Of course, the problem about the Right Honourable Lady is she has learnt nothing from the disaster they imposed on the country. The worst cost of living crisis in generations in this country, and whatever. Oh, and he says because Putin invaded Ukraine. Excellent. Can I congratulate him on his sedentary intervention? Exactly. And why did prices go through the roof? And why were we so exposed? Because of our exposure to fossil fuels. And what do they want to do? And what do they want to do, Madam Deputy Speaker? They want to double down on the exposure to fossil fuels. The truth that she knows, and which the Conservative Party used to believe before they went a bit more wacky than they were before, the truth is that there is only one route to energy security in the modern world, which is clean, homegrown power that we control. And for all of everything they say, the truth is that they have learnt nothing from what happened. On the COP, let me go to the questions such as they were on the COP. By the way, she complains about the COP being held in the Amazon. I have to say to her, with the greatest of respect, I'll take President Lula's judgment about where the COP should be held rather than hers. I mean, for goodness sake, have a bit of respect for the Brazilian presidency. They decided the right thing to do was to hold the COP in the Amazon to draw attention to the issue of deforestation. And she's complaining about their decisions to make the COP possible. I mean, for goodness sake. On the point about the TFFF, we are supportive of the TFFF and we'll keep under review whether we can make a contribution. It was because of fiscal circumstances that we did not, but we're investing more than £1 billion over 5 years in countering deforestation. I'm proud of what we're doing there in relation to that and in relation to the Congo Basin. Just on the point about British leadership, I mean, she could not be more wrong, actually, about the role of Britain in relation to these things. Actually, what people are seeing is an ambitious government that is leading on these issues, and so actually there's some respect for what Britain is actually suggesting others do. And Madam Deputy Speaker, there's a record that we need to learn from here, from both parties. And I say this sort of, as politely as I can to the Conservative Party. Ambition at home is what makes possible leadership abroad. We passed the Climate Change Act in 2008, which she now wants to rip up. 60 countries followed. We put net zero into law by 2050, which she wants to rip up. Theresa May, who I praise. I mean, isn't it extraordinary? I can praise Theresa May, but the Conservative Party can't praise Theresa May. So she put net zero into law in 2050, net zero by 2050, which they want to rip up. And now 80% of global GDP it follows. Isn't there, I'll end by saying this, Madam Deputy Speaker, there is a truth here, which is the Conservative Party used to aspire to global Britain. Now they have simply become the party of Little Britain, and it really, really doesn't look good. Yeah.